Hey team, let's start by reading this problem. It says to find the length, width, and height of the top and bottom prism and record the dimensions in the table below. Okay, first things first, when we look at this prism, we can see it is not a regular prism because the height on one side of the prism is different from the height on the back side of the prism. So this isn't what we call a regular prism. This is an irregular prism, or what we could also call a composite figure. A composite figure just means that the figure is composed of more than two or more regular prisms. So when we look at this prism, we could split this up into two regular prisms. We could split it up into a top and bottom prism. So we have this top prism up here that's a regular prism, and then we have this bottom prism down here that looks like a Kleenex box. So we have prism 1 and prism 2. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Another way that we could split this is we could split it down the middle so that we have a prism, a regular prism on the left, and then we have a regular prism on the right. So we have a left and a right prism. Okay, so what I want you to see here is that when we have composite figures, the first thing we have to do is split it into two regular prisms. So for the sake of this problem, they tell us to split it into a top and bottom prism. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to split this into a top and bottom prism. So I have my top prism here, and then I have my bottom prism down here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to find the length, width, and height of the top prism first and record all that here. And then we're going to find the length, width, and height of the bottom prism and record all of that here. I want you to look for how I find the dimensions for each prism separately. Let's start with just our top prism. Here we go. I know the length. When I'm looking at the top prism, I'm just looking at this one right here that I've circled. Okay, I know length is from side to side. I can see the length is 2 cubic units wide. So our length is 2. Okay, let's now look for the width. I know width is from front to back. I can see along the width of the figure is 2 cubic units. So I'm going to put 2 as my width. Next, I need to find the height. Remember, I'm only finding the height of the top figure. I know height is from the top of the prism to the bottom of that prism. Whoops. To the bottom of that prism, excuse me. So from the top of the prism down to the bottom prism is 2 units. So my height is 2. So the dimensions that we have for our top prism are 2 times 2 times 2. Now, we're going to do the same thinking now for the bottom prism. Now we're only looking at the bottom prism, and we're going to find the length, width, and height of that figure. We know the length is from side to side. We can see the length of the bottom prism is 2 units. We know that the width is front to back, and we can see along the width we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cubic units. And then lastly, we need to find the height. And remember, I'm not finding the height of the whole composite figure. I'm only finding the height of the bottom prism from here to here. And there are 2 cubic units. So the dimensions for the bottom prism were 2 4, and 2.